Hello, hello. Welcome to Live with Jesse and Melva. Well, this time is Live with Melva. Jesse will be with us next time. Welcome to our series, the continuation of our series, Secrets to Lasting Love. I know I've said it before, how excited I am about the series. Jesse's excited about it too, because when I think about all the ideas that I'd love to share with you, that we would like to share with you, it gets pretty exciting. You know, I think about that sometimes when working with clients and some of the work that we're doing together. And it is just fascinating to me about having the opportunity to share tools with couples to normalize their lives, to normalize the challenges that they're having in the relationship, and to help them to see that challenges are really opportunities for growth. So, and the reason why we have a lot of secrets, or we're sharing secrets is because a lot of people don't know what they don't know. And so if you don't know what you don't know, then you do what you do know, and it'll get you in trouble, especially when you're having challenges. And so that's what the secrets are all about. The other part about revealing the secrets to you is helping you to see that you have within you the qualities and characteristics to tap into those secret elements. We call them hidden treasures within. And the reason why most people are not expressing them is because they don't know that they exist. Now, here's the thing, there are times when I'll notice this sometimes. People will notice things that they really admire in another person, characteristics and what have you. And one thing that I learned a long time ago, especially in the Imago work that Jesse and I do, is that um, those qualities that many of us admire in others, they live in us. They're just not developed, um, or if they are developed, they're underdeveloped. And so check it out the next time when you're aware that you are admire something about somebody else. The same is true on the flip side. Some of the things that frustrate us about other people also live within us. And those are the things that we don't want to know about. And what's interesting about that is those are the things that the people that we love um, complain about. And maybe they criticize us about, or maybe they judge us about. So nobody wants to know about the places where they fall short, unless they're looking at it within the context of, I wonder if this is a part of me that wants to grow, and so that I am showing up more and more as a better version of myself. Life is a journey to us. And so step by step, day by day, we have an opportunity to tap in all that good stuff within. So we have covered three secrets so far. So this time we're going to cover secret number four. And before we tap into secret number four, just want to do a quick review of the other three secrets. So we're telling the story of James and Marion, and we love to tell stories about that are connected to the concepts and the tips that we are sharing and presenting. And so this is James and Marion's story. It's their journey. And it's about how they turn argue night into date night. Now, these are two people who love each other. They've been together about 25 years. They're empty nesters. And for those of you who are joining for the first time, is that as empty nesters, they thought we're going to have all of this time together where we can just hang out and um, we'll just have more time to chill together. Well, they found out that didn't happen, and that many times what they would go, because they're very active couple. Um, they're active in their community. They both still have full-time jobs. They're happy in their jobs, even though their jobs can be stressful at times. But when they get home together, and when they go out together, they get into these arguments, and they have the same argument over and over again. And sometimes they cannot remember what they're arguing about. Okay, so what did we do so far? So far, well, they decided that they wanted to shift out of this, and they didn't know how. So the first step that they did was they took a look at their marriage, and they made a list of pros and cons. Pros about what was working, and cons about what was not working. What was not working for sure was the arguments. So they made that list, and they are aware that they have enough good stuff going in their marriage to think about moving forward and taking the next step, and to figure out how to turn this around. So they tried to do it on their own, but they kept getting stuck in the same place. So anyway, they know that they have something solid to work with. The second thing that they did was they discovered the psychology of the 7-year-old that lives within them. That 7-year-old lives within us as well. And then we gave examples about how that 7-year-old shows up in their marriage. Not only how it shows up, but last time we talked about how that 7-year-old impacts the other person. So what they did for homework was, in terms of just getting in touch with the psychology of getting to know the 7-year-old within, they did a day-to-day journal about what happened on the inside when they got triggered. They journaled their feelings, they journaled their thoughts, and mostly they journaled and paid attention to how they reacted. So this time, leading to secret number 4, they decided to share their journals in terms of what this whole process was for them on the inside. And they discovered something very interesting. They discovered that when they became reactive, and they became reactive in different ways, and that both ways hurt. Those reactions were negative. The fight, flee, freeze, play dead, hide, or submit reaction is really hurtful to the person who's on the receiving end. So when they got in touch with that, because they were very much aware of how the other person's behavior impacted them and how badly they felt when they were impacted that way. But when they had the awareness that their reaction was also hurtful, it was a big eye opener. And that's what happens when people discover what they don't know, that they don't know about their behavior, their survival behavior, because all of us are wired for behavior. So they were able to put the 7-year-old that lives within them into context. And there's a quote that I saw that I really liked that fits what they're dealing with. And that is, some people use their own hurt as an excuse for hurting others. Roland Mirolo, I hope I didn't mess up your name, Roland. And that happens, when a person is hurting, often they become hurtful. When a person is frustrated, sometimes they become frustrating. We mentioned this last time. When a person is scared, sometimes they become scary. So now James and Marion have more information about an impact that they didn't know they had and that they don't feel comfortable about. But the good news is that they want to do something about it. So now that takes us to secret number 4. So now that they know that they have been wounding each other, then the next step for them is to have some information about what to do next. And what to do next is to heal the wounds. So many times when we're working with couples and they're dealing with affairs or any frustrating behavior that takes one of the partners like out of the connection, then one thing that we support couples to do is to get in touch with what needs to be healed. And of course, what needs to be healed is that impact of that negative behavior. And the reason why people need to be more aware of it is because, according to John Gottman, another quote that I like, and also it fits in the context of the way that we work, is that we repeat what we don't repair, because we are human beings. We're wired to react with a knee-jerk reaction when there's a threat. And in relationships, the threat is to the connection. So anytime, and it's mostly unconscious, anytime a person feels that their connection with the person that they love is compromised or threatened, their brain is wired to automatically bring out the 7-year-old to do its job. And its job is to connect. It just doesn't do it in a grown up way. And since most people don't know that the 7-year-old exists, then they don't know how to respond differently. So, what is it about um, James and Marion in terms of that healing piece? Here's the thing, and this is another quote from Tony Robbins, and that is, if you do what you've always done, you'll get what you've always gotten. Marion and James was having the same argument over and over and over again. And even though often they didn't remember what they were arguing about, what they did know was that they would get into arguments and sometimes they would spiral out of control. And so, why should Marion and James and the rest of us be concerned about healing the wounds caused by the 7-year-old within? And I want to say something about that 7-year-old. That 7-year-old is not bad. It's not good or bad, right or wrong. It's just doing its job, and it only knows how to do it one way. That's why the whole quote about if you do what you keep doing, you'll get the same results. That 7-year-old only knows how to do and respond and react and show up in a certain way. So, what are some of the things that James and Marion did over and over again? So, a theme for Marion is that she knows that when she and James are out of sorts and nothing is resolved, she knows that she feels distant and disconnected from him. And that's very painful for her. She says sometimes talking to James feels like talking to a wall. She says, he won't listen to what I'm trying to say. Now, how many of you have heard that? Or how many of you have said that yourself? The person that I love, I'm trying to talk to them, but they don't listen. So she said, now, if he does listen, or if he does respond, a clue that he's listening, that he'll respond with some kind of judgment or criticism. And that hurts. That's the part of James's 7-year-old showing up, and it's very hurtful. Now, this is what scares Marion. She believes if they don't get past this, a couple of things could happen. One thing that could happen is that James would get so frustrated that he would turn away from her because he already shuts down. He would turn away from her and maybe have an affair, or if it gets too bad, then they'll get a divorce. And this is the second marriage for both of them, and neither one of them want that. So she's aware of that. For James, he is thinking about constantly, because as an empty nester, he's thinking, his first thought is not, I want to spend more time with Marion. Now he may be thinking that, but that's not his first thought. His first thought is, now I can come home and just have peace and quiet and chill out, because he has a very stressful job, even though he loves it, to chill out. And what he has not communicated to Marion, and so Marion does not know, that he needs time to adjust to being out of that stressful working environment when he gets home. Because once he has a chance to chill out and get centered, then he's ready to engage. But he never told her, and she doesn't know. So all he knows is that she complains. She complains that he doesn't talk to her, that he doesn't spend enough time with her, and that when they are together and they go out on a date, he is distracted. So to him, she's just nagging and criticizing, and that gets on his last nerve. And he feels distant and disconnected and doesn't want to connect with her. So they got to the point where the argument got to the place that for him, being at home or coming home was more stressful than being at work. That is not a good feeling. So the tuning her out was the way that he took care of himself on a 7-year-old basis. So his concern was that things would get so bad that I think there was a time that Marion said to him that he was so distracted that she wondered if there was somebody else. And he said, "No, I'm not having an affair." He said, but he doesn't want Marion to keep doing what she's doing because he doesn't want to get any ideas. But he's not thinking about an affair now. What he is thinking about, though, is that he wants to get on the other side of this. He doesn't know how, and he doesn't want another divorce. So both of them are clear that they don't want a divorce. So that brings us to secret number 4. More about secret number 4. And that is to identify the wounds that need to be repaired so that they can heal, so that they can turn their argue night into date night and have the connection that they want. So when they were able to identify how they contributed to the nightmare or the conflict, and they weren't pointing fingers at each other anymore, that they were looking within, then they were in a place to begin to identify. And, actually reading each other's journals supported them to get in touch with how the other person was affected. And that was a good thing. That was a good thing for them. And so, as I think about that, and I think about people in relationships who love each other and keep getting stuck, that one step to know that one way that one person takes care of themselves when they are in survival mode affects the other person, and being aware that that impact is hurtful, that puts a person in a place to move to a place of compassion, because no one wakes up in the morning and asks themselves, well, how can I hurt my partner today? I don't know anybody that says it. Now, maybe there are people who say that, but I know that I don't know anyone that says that. And it's so interesting anytime I bring that up in a session with the couple, because I'll tell them, if you're coming here and you want to work things out, then I know that that's not your agenda when you get up in the morning. It is not Marion and James' agenda either. And so they are very clear that they want to not get rid of their 7-year-old, but they want to have more awareness about how they can work with that 7-year-old within, so that the 7-year-old works for them instead of against them. So I'm curious about you. What about you? First of all, are you aware of the 7-year-old that lives within? And the reason why I call that part 7 years old, because the brain was wired by the age of 7 years old, about how a child perceives the world and how much positive experiences that they expect to have based on the accumulation of experiences that they've had in their household, and therefore how many negative experiences they can have. So let's say that every person needs units of 10 verbal or nonverbal human contact on a day-to-day basis. So let's say by the age of 7 years old, this child has experienced on a daily basis, when they do the averaging and what have you, on a scale of 1 to 10, let's say that they have experienced maybe 6 positive connection experiences on a day-to-day basis. So that means that they have 4 units left. And if they don't know how to, or they have not experienced 4 more positive experiences, verbal and nonverbal, then they figure out a way to fill up the cup, so to speak. And what do? That they they create 4 more units in a negative way. So what that means is maybe they'll throw tantrums, maybe they will become frustrating, maybe they will give a series of no's to whatever they're asked to do. Now, consciously, they don't know that's what's going on, but unconsciously, that's what goes on with the 7-year-old, and it also goes on with us as adults. So that's something else to pay attention to, because when the cup is not full, then we are so creative as human beings. We'll come up with a way to fill up those extra units. And here's the other thing about that survival part of the brain that the 7-year-old controls is when we don't have what we need, then what will happen is the brain will go into a way of visualizing and imagining the worst possible catastrophic reason why things are not happening. And that catastrophic thinking also will fill up the units that have not been met for the day. Just think about a time that something happened and you didn't know the reason for it happening. Think about where your thoughts went. Did you go into catastrophic thinking? We all do it. So just know that what is going on is that you're trying to get some kind of peace. You're trying to get grounded in some kind of way. And sometimes when catastrophic thinking is going on, when your buttons are pushed and you think that you cannot get the reconnection back with the person that you love, your 7-year-old does take over. So just think about that for yourself. And then as you think about it, think about whether your reaction, whether you minimize or whether you maximize. And those terms came up with one of my colleagues in Imago, Joyce Buckner, that when we minimizing a situation to feel safe, we put the value of it less than what it really is. And we shut down because we don't know how to cope with it. And when you're flooded with a lot of feelings, those feelings become overwhelming. The other style, the other pattern is maximizing, feeling so anxious that everything is a big deal. You hear language like, you always do that, or you never do that. And then the criticism comes from that place. It doesn't mean that the person who is minimizing, that they don't become critical, because they do. They just kind of do it in a way that they are stonewalling and shutting down. Because when they come out of that shell, they become pretty intense. So when you answer those 2 questions, ask yourself, or begin to imagine how your reaction impacts your mate in a hurtful way. Just imagine that. What do you imagine that looks like or feels like? What do you imagine happens to them on the inside when they're impacted? So remember, now we're going for compassion, we're going for understanding and compassion. And one way to help you to get in touch with that is to think about the last argument that you had, and just think about how your 7-year-old showed up. And we just want you to think about that between now and next time. And when you get in touch with that, ask yourself, is there anything that I want to change? And remember, you're in no judgment zone. Is there anything that I want to change? Because whatever relationship you're in, I am assuming that this person that you love, you want to have a more loving experience. And it's hard to do. It's hard to communicate that when in survival mode. So that's some food for thought between now and next time. So if you want support in any of these steps, feel free to go to our website, jesseandmelva.com/consultation. We'll be happy to set up a free telephone consultation with both of you and both of us, just to help you to have a jump start. Because there are steps, and sometimes there's blind spots and sometimes there's tunnel vision, and people can't see like that one step that's going to help them to start moving in a direction that's going to work for them. We'll be happy to get you started. So thank you so much for joining us for Jesse and Melva Live. No, sorry, Brian. Thank you for joining us for Live with Jesse and Melva. We look forward to next time to share with you secret number 5. Take care. Bye-bye.
Watch Live with Jesse and Melva right here on Solivity TV every Sunday at 5:30 Eastern. Solivity Magazine brings you the best in inspiration on Solivity TV. Check out our new shows. Mark your calendars for Solivity Magazine shows by going to solivity.com now.